Okay, well, that's one of the things about dealing with Russians. They or Ukrainians, right? They get offended if we call them all Russians. All right, so they get back on the road. Yeah, talking and driving is one thing. I mean, obviously I'm talking into the camera, but I can pay attention to the road here too. But texting is a no-go, and but apparently they're good at it. I'm not. I don't do that shit. So I may redo this video. I don't know. But we talk about you got to get your own jobs. Okay, you got to break out of that temp agency treadmill. It means you got to get a truck and you got to get tools. Okay, and you have to have enough skills to make money. Okay. And it's not necessarily a matter of being the most highly skilled person out there. It's also just a matter of marketing your skills from a realistic standpoint. If you market your skills from a realistic standpoint, you're not lying to people. I don't lie to people about my skills. You know, I tell them, yeah, I'm a reasonably decent carpenter. I'm a reasonably decent electrician, but you know, there is stuff I can't do. You got to be honest about that. And when you go shopping for tools, hey, check out the pawn shops, okay? Check out the yard sales, the garage sales. You gotta get equipped. I meet so many people that are so highly skilled, and you know, I came out of the temp agency world because I kind of had to restart my life into, and I don't have a career anymore. I did, I don't now, and but you got to have tools of a trade of something, because if you don't, no matter how good you are, you're still going to depend on somebody else, not just to provide the tools, but to provide the jobs. And you know, I'm not the best at anything, although I'm pretty good with electrical stuff these days. And the situation with pull up here. I hate parking in these pawn shop parking lots. The situation with these guys that are really good at what they do, but they just don't have tools. Usually, they made bad economic choices. Even though they're great workers, they show up on time. You know, a lot of times I'm late to stuff. I get distracted or sleep in or something, but. You know, there's all these guys that are really good at what they do, but they didn't buy tools, and they don't have a truck. And I remember being on a tree service job. It was a guy who was a hell of a good worker, and he had just bought a little sports car, new, and, you know, not fully realizing we were kind of approaching the end of the season slowdown. And guy was a good worker. He figured he'd always be employed. He didn't fully understand that the work we're doing is relatively seasonal, and he just bought a sports car. So when it came time to start cutting people off the crew, I had a truck and a couple of my own chainsaws, and this guy had a sports car. So, and everybody knew he was a better worker than me. But guess who got cut? Me or him? Well, it was him, because I was a better deal. And because I had my own truck, I had a couple of chainsaws, I could run off on the side and handle a couple of jobs for the boss when the other guy couldn't. He was dependent. And when we talk about the libertarian lifestyle, you have to be independent. You have to be at the point where it's not very painful to get fired. It's not very painful to get laid off because you have other options. In a survivalist lifestyle, it's all about the backup plans, all about the contingency planning, and to some degree the networking. You don't want to be such a pathetic worker that nobody's going to recommend you for anything. And that's one of the big things that you can deal with when you're in the temp agency environment is get phone numbers, okay? Watch how the other guys work. See who's a decent guy, and get your phone numbers, get your recommendation lists for those side jobs. That's how I broke out of the treadmill. That's how at over 40, I was making minimum wage with these dickheads, and seeing a lot of guys in their 20s who, at some of the work we were doing, they were probably even more capable than I am at some of it. But the thing is I'm in a hell of a lot better shape than a lot of these guys. Even though I'm overweight, I can outwork a lot of people. But which isn't bad for somebody with 2 college degrees, right? But the thing is, you want to network with people. If you're on that temp agency treadmill, yeah, it sucks. But get an idea of what kind of people you can work with. Get phone numbers. And you're not just asking for jobs. You want them to know, hey, I'm trying to set up some side deals. I want to get some people some work. What's your availability? So, get in touch with other people, because what happens is if you go and you present a package deal to somebody who wants to get something done, the package deal isn't just for you and saying, I'm such a great person that I'm going to show up and I'm going to do everything for you and I'm all these things. And then sometimes if you oversell yourself, you're setting them up for being disappointed. I don't try to oversell myself. What happens is I keep track of a bunch of guys who are better at a lot of shit than I am. But I have the tools and I make the connections for the work. So that's one of the ways you can break out of that temp agency treadmill. And I'll talk a little bit about how to get specific jobs so that you can get experience and get things done in the short term on a reverse apprenticeship.